Run, damn it, or we're both dead. The voice cracked through the smoke, urgent, raw. But Owen Keller didn't flinch. His boots pounded against the buckling floor, flames licking at his heels, the weight of a stranger in his arms. Her breath was ragged, her grip desperate. And in that moment, he wasn't a father, a mechanic, or a man drowning in debt, just a pulse driven by a cry he couldn't ignore. But what he didn't know, as he stumbled into the rain-soaked street, his daughter's screams echoing behind him, was that the woman he'd saved wasn't just anyone. She carried a secret, one that would unravel his world, piece by fragile piece. It wasn't her name, her wealth, or the empire she ruled. It was something darker, something buried in the ashes of that fire, waiting to ignite again. And now, weeks later, as a shadow watches from the edges of his life, Owen's about to learn. Some rescues come at a cost. What did she hide from him that night? And why does it feel like the fire is still burning? The rain lashed Queens with unrelenting fury, transforming the streets into a maze of slick shadows and swollen gutters. Owen Keller, a lean mechanic with hands scarred from years of wrenching engines back to life, stood under the sagging awning of his apartment building. His 6-year-old daughter, Grace, pressed against his side, her yellow raincoat drenched, her small hand gripping his. It was well past midnight, the kind of hour where exhaustion blurred the edges of hope. Owen's life was a treadmill, long shifts at the garage, bills that multiplied like roaches, and Grace, his only light, who deserved more than their cramped, peeling apartment could offer. A scream shattered the storm's rhythm, jagged and raw, from the tenement across the street. Owen's head jerked up. Flames clawed at the building's windows, their orange glow a cruel contrast to the rain's cold bite. The scream came again, fainter but no less desperate, pulling something deep and unyielding from Owen's core. He didn't hesitate. "Grace, stay here," he said, crouching to meet her wide, frightened eyes. "Don't move, baby. Daddy'll be back. Daddy, please." Grace's voice trembled, but Owen was already sprinting, his boots splashing through puddles. The heat slammed into him as he shoved through the building's splintered door, a wall of fire and smoke that stung his eyes and clawed his lungs. The cries guided him, faint but alive, up a staircase that groaned under his weight. Walls blistered and cracked around him, but he pushed forward, driven by a force he couldn't name. In a smoke-choked hallway, he found her, a woman pinned beneath a fallen beam, her face streaked with ash, her eyes locked on his, fierce with life. "Hold on," Owen rasped, his muscles screaming as he heaved the beam aside. She was light in his arms, trembling but strong, her breath hot against his neck. The ceiling shuddered, spitting sparks, and Owen ran, shielding her as the building roared behind them. They stumbled into the street just as the tenement collapsed, a beast devouring itself in a cloud of ash and thunder. Grace's scream cut through the chaos. "Daddy!" And she threw herself into his arms, sobbing, her tiny body shaking against his. The woman coughed, clutching Owen's sleeve, but he didn't look at her. He didn't need her name or her story. She was alive. That was enough. He carried Grace home, the rain washing soot from his skin, unaware that the woman's eyes followed him, memorizing the shape of his retreating figure. 3 weeks later, Owen's world was unchanged. The garage still reeked of oil and desperation. Grace still doodled crayon galaxies on their wobbly kitchen table, and the landlord's threat still loomed like a storm cloud. He was elbow deep in a busted transmission when a shadow crossed the shop's open door. A woman stood there, her tailored coat absurdly pristine against the grime. Her dark hair framed a face that stirred a flicker of recognition, though Owen couldn't place it. Owen Keller? Her voice was warm, steady, like a song he hadn't earned. "I'm Melline Lane. You saved my life." He froze, greasy rag in hand, the night of the fire rushing back. Those eyes, wide with fear, now clear and piercing. "Didn't do it for thanks," he muttered, turning back to the engine. But Melline didn't budge. She insisted on dinner. For him and Grace, her smile disarming. Owen wanted to say no. People like her didn't linger in his world, but Grace's giggle from the corner, where she'd been eavesdropping, made refusal impossible. One dinner, harmless, at a cozy diner, Grace chattered about school while Owen sat stiffly, feeling like a smudge on Meline's polished life. She was different, not just rich, but present, asking about his work, his dreams, listening like his words mattered. When Grace knocked over her milkshake, Meline laughed and grabbed napkins, no trace of impatience. Owen felt a pull, dangerous and warm, but he buried it. She was a stranger. Their lives didn't fit. Yet Meline kept coming back. A jazz club one night, where her laughter danced with the saxophone's wail. An art gallery, where she teased him for frowning at splattered canvases. A rooftop bar, where the city sprawled below and her hand grazed his, a spark that lingered. He learned her truth. Meline Lane, CEO of Lane & Rowe, a marketing giant that shaped brands and fortunes. Owen was just a guy with a toolbox and a daughter, scraping by in a world that didn't notice him. But Meline saw him, and that scared him more than the fire ever had. Tension simmered when Bryce, Meline's former colleague, slithered into view. At a sleek cocktail party, Owen's first taste of her world, Bryce's smirk was venomous. "A mechanic, huh?" He drawled, swirling his bourbon. "Must be grounding, tinkering with cars while Meline runs an empire." Owen's fist clenched, but Meline's hand on his arm was steel. "Owen's worth more than your entire portfolio, Bryce," she said, her voice ablade. The room hushed, and Owen saw her loyalty, fierce and unshakable. He didn't need to swing. She'd fought for him. Still, a question gnawed at him, heavy and unspoken. Can two people from opposite worlds build something that lasts? It wasn't just their differences, her penthouse life, his callous hands, but the fear that this was too fragile, too good for a man like him. He didn't ask it aloud, but it shadowed every moment. Meline started weaving into their lives, showing up at their apartment with paintbrushes for Grace's school projects, her designer heels absurdly out of place on the chipped floor. She didn't blink at the leaky faucet or the second-hand couch. One night, as Grace slept, Meline sat on Owen's lumpy sofa, her guard down. "I've spent my life chasing control," she said, voice soft. "But with you, I don't want it. I just want this." Owen's throat tightened. He wanted to believe her, but doubt whispered. What happens when she sees you're no hero, just a man barely holding on? The gala was a turning point. Lane and Rowe's annual event glittered with wealth and ambition, a world Owen didn't belong in. Meline insisted he attend, not as arm candy, but as a guest of honor. On stage, she spoke of the fire, her voice steady but raw, calling him the man who gave me a second chance at life. The applause was deafening, but Owen felt naked, unworthy. Later, on a quiet balcony, Meline found him, her eyes searching. "I meant it," she said, "not just the fire. You, Owen, you're my second chance." That night, she stayed over the first time, in his cramped bedroom. They talked until dawn about loss, his wife, gone to cancer, her family, fractured by ambition, about fear, about hope. "I'm terrified," Owen admitted, his voice rough. You, me, Grace, it's everything, and I don't know how to keep it." Meline's fingers traced his jaw. "I'm scared too," she whispered, "but I'm not running. Not from you." They held each other, not sleeping, just breathing, the world feeling possible for the first time. Days later, a courier arrived at the garage with an envelope from Lane & Rowe. Inside was a contract, a partnership to launch Keller Automotive, an auto service initiative backed by Meline's firm. Owen's name would shine on it. He bristled, pride flaring. "I don't take charity," he told. As Keller Automotive took shape, a stranger appeared at the garage, a grizzled investigator named Hargrove, his coat damp from the autumn drizzle. "The fire wasn't an accident," he said, sliding a manila folder across Owen's workbench. "Arson, and it wasn't random." Owen's stomach twisted as he flipped through the pages. Grainy photos, police reports, a name circled in red. Bryce Whitaker, Meline's former colleague. Bryce had been pushed out of Lane & Rowe, his ego bruised, his resentment festering into something darker. The fire was meant to scare Meline, to destabilize her empire. Owen's rescue had been an accident, a wrench in Bryce's plan. Hargrove's voice was low. "He's still out there, Keller, watching her. Maybe you too." Owen's blood ran cold. He saw Grace's face, her crayon scattered on the table, and Meline's smile unguarded in his. The question hit like a hammer. If love means protecting them, do I tell Melline the truth and risk breaking her, or do I hunt Bryce myself? He chose silence, but it was a jagged weight. He started noticing things. Strange cars idling near the garage, a shadow lingering too long across the street. Melline senses tension, her eyes narrowing. "What's wrong, Owen?" she asked one night, her voice sharp with worry. "Don't push me away." He wanted to confess, to lay the folder at her feet, but fear stopped him. If she knew, she'd confront Bryce herself, fearless and reckless. He couldn't lose her. Melline wasn't blind. She found Hargrove's card in Owen's jacket, tucked behind a photo of Grace. Instead of confronting Owen, she hired her own investigator, a woman named Clara who moved like a ghost. Clara uncovered more. Bryce hadn't acted alone. A board member at Lane and Rowe, Evelyn Voss, had fed him information, hoping to oust Melline and claim the CEO's seat. The fire was just the start. Evelyn's whispers had fueled Bryce's obsession, and now they were planning something bigger, a public scandal to ruin Melline's reputation. Melline didn't tell Owen. She wanted to protect him, just as he was protecting her. But the secrecy strained them. Dinners grew quiet, their laughter forced. Grace noticed, her drawings turning darker, all stormy skies and jagged lines. One night, Melline broke. "I know about Bryce," she said, her voice trembling as she faced Owen in their dim kitchen. "And you didn't tell me." Owen's heart sank. "I was keeping you safe," he said, but the words fell hollow. Melline's eyes flashed. "Safe? Owen, we're stronger together. Don't you see that?" She showed him Clara's findings, the web of betrayal tighter than either had imagined. The question hung between them. Can love survive secrets, even ones born devotion? They chose to fight. Together, they met Hargrove and Clara, pooling evidence. Bryce was arrested in a quiet sting. His smug face splashed across the news. Evelyn was subtler, resigning from Lane and Rowe before Melline could fire her. But the victory was bittersweet. The truth had nearly cost them each other. Keller Automotive grew, a testament to Owen's grit and Melline's belief. The garage wasn't just a business. It was a promise, a place where broken things could be made whole. Melline faced her board, their doubts about her personal involvement loud and pointed. She didn't flinch. "Owen's my partner," she said, her voice iron. "In life, not just business." To prove it, she stepped back from oversight, giving Owen full control. "It's yours," she told him. "Build it big." As their wedding neared, a ghost from Owen's past surfaced. His brother, Caleb, long estranged, showed up at the garage, his eyes hollow and his clothes threadbare. Caleb had been in trouble, addiction, theft, years of silence. But now he claimed redemption, begging for a job, a chance. Owen wanted to believe him, for Grace's sake, for the boy Caleb had once been. But Melline saw the flicker of manipulation in Caleb's smile, the way he leaned too close, asked too much. Caleb's presence was a crack in their foundation. Tools went missing at the garage. Invoices vanished. Owen defended him, guilt blinding him, until Grace found a stash of stolen parts in Caleb's bag. The betrayal cut deep. "I thought I could fix him," Owen admitted, his voice raw. Melline held him, her strength steady. "You can't fix everyone," she said, "but you fixed us." Caleb left no apologies, just a note. "You'll always choose him over me." Owen burned it, letting the ashes scatter. The wedding was small, in a garden bursting with wildflowers and sunlight. Grace, in a dress she'd helped design, scattered petals with glee, her laugh to the day's heartbeat. Melline wore a simple gown, Owen a suit that fit like a second skin. Their vows were raw, unpolished. "I choose you," Melline said, her voice clear. Not for the fire, but for every moment since. Owen's eyes glistened. "You're my home, Melline. You and Grace. Forever." They danced under string lights, Grace twirling between them, the world shrinking to just their 3 heartbeats. Later, on a quiet bench, Melline rested her head on Owen's shoulder. "No more secrets," she whispered. "Promise?" He kissed her forehead. "Promise." Months later, Keller Automotive was a beacon in Queens. Its sign bold against the skyline. Owen ran it with pride, hiring local kids, teaching them the trade. Melline stepped away from Lane and Rowe, launching a girls' leadership program that sparked fire in young eyes. Grace is among them. Their apartment grew, a new bedroom for Grace painted in her favorite blues, a fire escape where Owen and Melline stole quiet nights, the city humming below. One evening, as Grace slept, they sat wrapped in a blanket, the air crisp with autumn. Owen traced the ring on Melline's finger. Simple but theirs. "We made it," he said, voice thick. Melline smiled, her eyes soft. "No, love, we're still making it. Every day." They weren't flawless. Fights flared. Over money, time, the weight of their past. But they faced them, hands clasped. Grace thrived, her laughter a constant, her drawings now bright with stars and smiling faces. The fire that had brought them together was a memory, not a shadow. They'd built a life, not perfect, but real, anchored by love that didn't bend. Owen looked at Melline, her face lit by the city's glow. "Worth it?" he asked, half teasing. She leaned into him, her answer a kiss that held everything. "Fear, fight, forever, every second," she said. And it was. Their home, messy and loud, was a haven. Grace's crayons littered the table, Melline's books stacked beside Owen's tools. They were a family, forged in fire, tempered by trust. No more running, no more surviving, just living together for all the days to come.